You're live.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting, and I'd like to ask the Assistant Secretary to please call the roll.
Morning, Chair Ryan.
Did you just miss my first comment? That I was welcoming all of you. I've already finished one board meeting this morning, so and that was an interesting meeting, but I'm welcome to the meeting. And,
Thank you.
Pam, would you please call the roll and declare a quorum?
Thank you. Chair Ryan.
Present.
Regent Balducci. Absence is noted but anticipated. Chair Regent Bloom.
Present.
Regent Gray Kemp. Absence is noted but expected. Regent Howery.
Present.
Regent James.
Present.
Regent Jappanen.
Present.
Regent McCarthy.
Present.
Regent Porth.
Present.
Regent Santiago. Absence is noted but expected. Regent Stewart.
Here.
Regent Wright. Regent Wright. I see you.
Here, I was on mute, sorry.
Thank you. Student Regent Grant.
I'm here. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Student Regent Sanchez.
I'm here. Hello.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome our ex officios, Professor Blitz. Absence is noted. Professor Sasanker.
I'm here.
Commissioner Bartolomeo. Absence is noted. Commissioner Dutani. Absence is noted. Commissioner Dom. Absence is noted. Commissioner Russell Tucker. Absence is noted. Chief Workforce Officer Valeries. Absence is noted. And our six presidents, President Maduco.
Here.
President Nunez. Absence is noted. President Berlino. Absence is noted. President Toro.
Here.
Interim President Barron.
Here.
President Klonowski.
Ed said here.
Ed said here, thank you. And Chair Ryan, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to call for a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. The agenda is adopted. I first of all am very happy to introduce Sophia Happening. We have been informed by the House Republican leader of the Connecticut legislature of the appointment of Sophia Happening. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, Sophia. She is appointed to replace Matt Fleury as an alumnus of Charter Oak State College, where she got her Master of Science degree in Organizational Effectiveness and Leadership in 2021. Regent Happening is Senior Media Systems Engineer at the Walt Disney Company, responsible for media design, implementation, and distribution. Prior to more than 10 years at Disney, she spent time at ESPN as a systems engineer. We welcome her and look forward to her tenure on the Board of Regents. Welcome.
Thank you.
In addition, Regent McCarthy and I had the opportunity to meet with Governor Lamont to give him an update on CSCU initiatives and to reinforce the importance of the requests we have before him and the legislature this session, as well as the board's ongoing advocacy and support for the efforts of CSCU leadership. And I must say, it was a very interesting and a good, positive meeting. So we didn't come in blazing and making demands. We were very upbeat, positive. It was a good meeting, right, Jim? I think you would agree. For McCarthy, you'd agree.
You're muted.
In more
Absolutely. It
go ahead.
was very upbeat, very cordial. We talked about some important issues. finances and enrollment being at the top of the list. But I thought it was a very constructive meeting, and both the governor and his aide who were there were interested in our following up. And I understand we're working on that as we speak.
And thank you, Regent McCarthy. And I don't want to embarrass President Chang, but he thinks very highly of President Chang. So we thought that was also very positive.
Yes.
In addition, more good news. Regents James McCarthy and Aaron Stewart have all flown through the Executive Nomination Committee process and are being recommended for approval by the General Assembly. Congratulations. That's wonderful, good and wonderful news also. I'm looking forward to our chamber's annual meeting. President Chang will be attending. I did receive notice that the governor cannot attend, so we are in the process of replacing the governor with a very high-profile speaker, so I will make sure you are aware of that. And finally, as spring has arrived, we're looking forward to the commencement season and wish all of our students and their faculty a successful end of semester. And now I will turn this over to President Chang for your comments.
Thank you so much, Chair Ryan. Let me join in welcoming our newest regent. But before I do that, Sophia, can you please just confirm how we pronounce your last name so I don't spend the next 6 years butchering it?
Yes, it's Japanese.
Japanin, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Regent Japanin, in just a few conversations, it became clear that she is sharp, she's sophisticated, she's a kind of dynamic thinker, and she has remarkable experience and credentials to be on this board. But most importantly, she's a genuinely passionate person about helping students and supporting success in our system. She's an alumna of Charter Oak, as you've heard, a longtime professional and leader at ESPN and the Walt Disney Company. So she knows and genuinely lives the fact that our system changes lives and leads to outstanding careers here in Connecticut. So welcome, Sophia, and I so look forward to working with you. I also want to applaud our regents, Regents McCarthy, Regent James, and Regent Stewart for their testimony in their confirmation hearings. They were great, impressive, as we knew they'd all be, and I suspect they're going to be confirmed with flying colors. The last few months have been very busy. We've primarily been focusing on legislative testimony and conversations with legislators and a variety of key stakeholders. Back in January, you'll remember, we released CSCU 2030. That's our vision and proposal, which will truly affect generational change for Connecticut if it's brought to bear, with capital projects, student support, new academic programs across the CSCU system. Every single institution, every single campus would benefit from CSCU 2030. To date, we have testified in front of the Appropriations Committee, the Higher Education and Employment Advancement Committee, and the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee. We've also hosted a slew of legislators at legislative breakfasts where they've had the opportunity to hear, directly from students, right? Our incredible students and faculty and staff. These are the folks that make up the lifeblood of our institutions and our system. So their work being presented directly to legislators, it's made an enormous impact. So I want to thank all of those who have organized those events. Those are a big deal. They're not easy. And the people who have hosted all these engagements, I especially want to thank those students and faculty and staff at each campus and institution who showcased the high quality, the impactful work you're all doing. I want to recognize also our collective bargaining unit leaders and their members who have come out in full force in many venues and through a myriad of efforts to call for greater funding for the system and for our institutions. Dr. Louise Williams, Dr. John O'Connor, and Cynthia Stretch of AUP, Greg Carrar and John Derman of SWOF, Professor Seth Freeman and Dr. Sasanker of the Four Cs, Paul Morganti and Sarah Ellis, and Larry Saleh, who represent two different AFSCME units. Your personal testimony, your engagement, and the work that your members are putting in this effort, pardon me, has been really instrumental in getting us this far in the process. So I'm grateful to all of you for your continued efforts and your willingness to partner and collaborate in a truly positive and professional manner that's going to allow us to achieve these shared goals. We're going to continue to work hard through the remainder of the legislative session. It goes through June. We're going to reinforce over and over again that the CSCU system, our students, our employees, our alumni, we are a critical girder of Connecticut's economic stability and future. And the CSCU system and all of our institutions, we're the primary engine of social mobility for the state. So our institutions aren't just colleges and universities in Connecticut or of Connecticut. We're the system that works for Connecticut. We will continue to do that at the highest level, especially with the state's support. In other news, you've probably heard by now, President Joe Bertolino of Southern Connecticut State University will be stepping down in June. He's going to Stockton University in New Jersey to be the 6th president of that institution, which is really bittersweet that President Joe is going to be leaving us. I've really just enjoyed his warmth, his candor, his calm, and ultimately the opportunity to be around him. He's a genuinely good person, and he cares so deeply about Southern and his students, the city of New Haven, and he's always worked in the best interests of the entire system. He's led Southern for 7 years. His hand has been steady. He's listened. He's welcomed people into the Southern family, and he's always worked in other people's best interests so selflessly and indefatigably. You know, we've been contemplating his departure together, and I've spoken to some folks at Southern as well, people who represent, you know, big swaths of constituencies. So not only have those conversations made crystal clear how much people love President Joe, what a tremendous impact he's had, it's also elucidated and really codified for me what Southern holds dear. So in the coming weeks, we're going to announce a transition plan at Southern. And, you know, I understand that times of change can be stressful and concerning, but I want you to know that whatever decision we will make will be shaped by President Joe and the input we've received from Southern. And our hope is to continue to lean into Southern's unique character, its location, its strengths, while continuing along the path that President Joe and the university have already charted for its progress. I'll conclude my remarks with a few words about Western Connecticut State University, who will be presenting right after. Under interim President Paul Barron's leadership, in just 10 months, Western has done some incredible work, which you're going to hear about. This is because the university's administration has forged strong partnerships with their faculty and staff and students and the surrounding community. Through transparency, with clear communication, Western's been able to make huge strides to stabilize, but also to prepare for a more prosperous and sustainable future. So I'm thankful to President Barron and his team, Provost Alexander, Vice President Murray, Vice President Febvre, for your hard work every single day. And I want to thank our faculty and staff leaders at Western. You know, they've really joined the administration in identifying concerns and working really hard to try to create those solutions. So, if I may, Madam Chair, without further ado, I would like to invite President Barron and his team to begin their presentation.
All right, thank you very much, President Ching. Actually, it's only been 8 months.
Time flies when you're having fun, Paul.
So it's, hey, it does. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to give my overview and kind of what I walked into, because I think everybody needs to have an understanding of what happened when I walked in, and then how it evolved into my leadership team. I want to introduce first the people at the table very quickly. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Provost Missy Alexander, Vice President of Finance and Administration Beatrice Febvre, Vice President of Enrollment and Student Affairs Jay Murray, and you'll hear from them in just a few minutes as soon as I'm done. I also have Dr. Forrest Robertson, who's the ad hoc committee chair on faculty reassigned time, which has been a major issue and a major study as to how we can reassign and make sure that we are being as efficient and effective with faculty time as possible. I also want to introduce Dr. Ethan Falk, who is the president of the University Senate. And at WCSU, the president of the University Senate is really, he represents everybody, all levels of the institution. And so I wanted him to sit in with us this morning as well. So the last 8 months, when I walked into July 15th, 2022, when I walked in, I had about 14 senior level direct reports reported directly to the president. Half the budget authority, half had budget authority with no actual oversight of their spending and little accountability for their spending. And there was no central authority for developing a holistic plan for spending or creating a check and balance system for decisions that involve spending. There was no VP for finance and administration. There was a CFO who was Beatrice February, who is now the vice president. But the CFO had no authority to question or coordinate resources, money or otherwise, but who was held accountable for paying the bills. Everything ran based on past precedent, silos of power and authority, from my observation and from the practice that I saw. Then the money, then the money ran out. Years of over projecting what enrollment would be because nobody wanted to tell a bad story created a situation of over budgeting and spending what was budgeted based on unrealistic expectations of enrollment. And that was not due to anybody sitting at this table. I want to make that very, very clear and very specific. And that's one of the reasons they're sitting at this table. As the NCHEMS report pointed out, the revenue did not match the spending, and the only place to make the budget whole was the reserves. And then there weren't any. And that's when I got a call. So I got a call when the reserves ran out. So what did I do to gather information? The first thing I did is I made sure that I listened to as many people as I possibly could, as quickly as I could. I met with every VP and dean and director and everybody that reported directly to me and many people who answered directly to them. I determined through those meetings, I determined many details of operation of the institution and the lack of centrality in decision-making or planning, and nothing was connected, nothing depended one upon the other. Everything operated in and of itself and independently. I determined that the three people sitting here with me had the ability, the vision, and the fortitude to rethink and reshape the university with participation based on shared governance from faculty and staff. And I met and listened to and read the reports of the 6 work groups that Provost Alexander organized last summer that looked at all a variety of assets of the institution, both the problems and the pluses of WCSU, and in fact, Dr. Forrest Robertson is the one who chaired that committee that started that work on looking at faculty reassigned time. I picked these 3 people, but held off announcing or changing positions until after January. NCHEMS researchers had been on campus late fall semester to talk about the realities of where the institution is at organizationally and financially, and presented their final report. The university community needed time to read and absorb the final findings. And meanwhile, I enacted some AAUP-based approaches to address low enrollment programs and set the stage for strategic organization in the academic area, which I know that you all have seen a variety of response to that. But it has all come out very well, as Provost Alexander will explain in just a moment. I eliminated the VP of Student Affairs position because that person stepped down, basically to see the handwriting on the wall. And I combined enrollment and student affairs. And you'll understand why when Vice President Murray talks in just a second. What my 3 VPs are going to tell you is what is happening in their areas and how they're taking steps to reshape the institution organizationally, structurally, and organically to maximize WCSU's ability to be cost-effective, efficient, and ultimately generate more revenue by keeping students and serving them better without projecting huge increases in incoming enrollment. Where we had a huge drain, was not serving students appropriately and them leaving and actually going other places, even within our own system. And we're going to work very hard with that. And he'll talk briefly about also how our foundation here has stepped up to help us with some recruiting dollars and to be able to augment the ability to help people to pay their bills while they're here and keep them. The last thing I want to say is that I honor my interim position in the sense that I understand that I'm the short termer. I came in here to make changes and to create as I like to say, I came in on a gravel runway, and my goal is to pave it for the next person who flies in. And that's what I'm attempting to do. And I think that it's going to be, I think that WCSU will be a place that people want to come and be a president. And that's my goal. That has been my goal from the day I stepped on this campus, to create opportunity for the next person for their long-term success. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vice President February, who's going to start by talking about the financial things and how we reorganized a lot of freestanding organizations that reported to me and now report to her.
Thank you, Dr. Barron. So as stated by President Barron, he is continuing to move forward with reorganizing Western. What has changed thus far? The following areas have actually joined the Finance and Administration team: auxiliary services, facilities and IT since March 1st, and more recently, President Barron and I participated together to interview and hire WCSU's next chief of police, who will join our team when he starts next month on April 17th. You might ask, what is our vision, goal, and the strategies that we are applying in order to maximize input and output from this alignment of the Finance and Administration team members? Our vision is to create, operate, and function like a think tank. The way we use that expression is to describe a safe place where plans and strategies could be discussed, taking full advantage of and leveraging each other's expertise to challenge the status quo amongst trusted colleagues. That, we believe, will lead to the explosion of new creative ways of thinking that will facilitate arriving at a faster data-driven decision in order to address the challenges we are facing. So goal under those vision, goal 1 is to create that community of data-driven decisions by building trust, camaraderie, creating synergy, and providing the support needed to foster collaboration. Goal number 2 is to create a culture where everyone understands and embraces the fiduciary responsibility that we have for WCSU and its students, and take that very seriously. So together, we want to stay laser focused on the work that has to be done for Western, focusing on results and being solution oriented, believing in pursuing what's right for WCSU versus who's right. As for the strategies to help maximize input and output from team members, there are 5 that we've come up with. One, as we are doing right now, is with the listening phase, because we do have new members. Listening to team members talk about the things they love and the things they'd like to see fixed. We want to make sure everyone is empowered to produce positive change that will make Western better and stronger. I've provided our leaders with 7 specific questions to vet with their respective departments. One example is for each leader to come up with top 3 of what he or she believes need to happen to turn WCSU into a financially sound and thriving and caring, trusting community. Number 2, our regular department leaders meetings have been strategically planned and aligned to follow the bi-weekly CSU CFO meetings that is led by our system VPFA Ben Barnes. This way, relevant information can quickly be provided, shared with the team, and ideas and actions required can be swiftly vetted. Number 3, SWOT analyses are being performed. A full analysis on areas to discover what is working, what is not working, what do we need to stop doing in order to find economies of scale that drives efficiency and effectiveness. Number 4, leadership principles are under development. These will be the compass that guides us to achieve our full potential, both as individuals within the Finance and Administration team, as well as an organization. We're also developing number 5 framework. This is to help strategically guide resource allocation and investment within WCSU in order to better evaluate opportunities that come our way. So how is Western benefiting thus far? Well, new department members have already expressed that they are enjoying getting to know their colleagues, offering helpful ideas and collaborating. This is just as one might describe this to be the foundation of building great relationships. We are expanding our periodic upcoming finance and administration team retreat to include new added department leaders in order to improve morale, foster camaraderie, brainstorm, and discuss and set up specific goals. So to conclude, the necessary changes made thus far have created transparency into areas impacting the financial resources of WCSU. We have already seen changes that foster additional interdepartmental collaboration and greater strategic capacity, which will ultimately yield better results for Western and the students we serve. So thank you for the time. And now I shall turn it over to my colleague, Jay Murray, our Vice President for Enrollment and Student Affairs.
Thank you, Vice President Pfeffer. Good morning, everyone. What we've put together here is a merging of the enrollment management, division of enrollment management and student affairs. And the best way to think about it is all the areas responsible for recruiting and then engaging and keeping the students happy and hopefully retaining them once they're here, and really breaking down all those barriers to student success. Want to make sure that all of our students are supported individually in appropriate ways to help them succeed, really from cradle to grave throughout that system. But we will continue to be looking at the organizational structure of the individual components to get them more closely aligned and really break down those silos, because enrollment management and student affairs although they had been collaborating, had really been two different arms of the organization. We want to make sure they're more closely aligned. It's been about 6 weeks that we've been together. We've been meeting regularly, but there's going to be lots of restructuring with kind of looking at who does what, and also working with the leadership team to make sure that we have enough appropriate people in each individual area to best support these students and obviously support the bottom line. So really to better align our resources, to better engage and retain both commuters and resident students, and really focusing very heavily on our commuter population, which is the bulk of our undergraduate enrollment. Some of the things that we've done already so far is really looking at that onboarding and retention of the students. So we're looking to add, and we're currently in the middle of a search to add professional advising to our University Advisement Center, so that all incoming students, freshmen and transfer, will be assigned an academic advisor to help them in onboarding, but then who will stay with them for that first year and longer if they're undeclared, and really facilitate that handoff to their faculty advisor, who will then stay with them for the rest of their 4 years. So to really improve the onboarding process, the registration process, and then certainly to impact retention. The other thing that we have in progress right now that is really, really new, we're kind of excited. We built a model to help us more strategically award financial aid to our incoming students. So the model will look at past enrollment data at WCSU and then give us insight onto how to appropriately allocate resources to support enrollment, to retain students, but also to contribute to the overall bottom line of the institution. And those are end of my comments. I'll pass it over to Provost Alexander.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. So I'm here to report out on some of the conversations I think you were privy to in the fall around some of the potential program closures, but also what else we're doing. So let me start first with the conversations that took place last fall around both social sciences programs and the meteorology program. After numerous conversations with department chairs about how we might restructure, we only chose to close the general social sciences degree, and we are restructuring the anthropology sociology degree to better meet the needs of those students. I don't want to get in the weeds of what that really means, but very few students were in the general degree, and we think they're going to be better served in the social or the political science degrees that are being reconfigured. All sorts of great work is going on now in that department to redesign, and one of their central ideas is to really focus on the professional connections that they are helping their students reach for from the start. So they're doing a really interesting redesign, and I anticipate seeing proposals through governance. Actually, I think they just started this week. So it's very exciting work going on there. The economics program, which was part of that department, has been put into the business school. The bulk of its students are in the business programs. They are now part of the finance department and looking at ways to reimagine their program more integrated into the BBA programs. You know, WCSU is very proud that we are an AACSB accredited business programs, and adding the talent of the economics program to that mix, I think will be very productive, and I'm excited to see what happens. Those programs, however, do have a timeline for turnaround, and that was part of the agreement. So they have 3 years to get turned around and have a good plan for the recruitment and growth of their student bodies. But I feel very confident that they can reach this just based on the work they've done in these few short months. So that's very exciting for us. The meteorology program, we chose a different solution. This is a program that is very jam-packed. And when we really did a deep analysis of what it takes to complete it, we found it was better to break it into a 4+1. That is, they will have an undergraduate degree focused on the atmospheric and oceanic sciences that are the foundations of meteorology. And then they can elect to stay for a 5th year, a master's in meteorology. Design of this is going on now. There are lots of conversations about it, but one of the decisions that we made was to actually put the faculty from the meteorology program in our biology department, because the biology department is growing in the kind of modeling science that meteorology does. And they're very interested in a collaborative process there. So they're now figuring out what this really looks like. There are some models out there. The students just come out of air. So they're trying to work through what would work best for us, but they'll be working very hard this summer to develop a proposal for us. That also has a timeline on it. They have a longer timeline than the others because it's a little more complex transformation, but they are doing that. In addition to those programs, I did want to mention that we're doing some reorganizing overall and restructuring. And the idea around this is really about making more visible the strengths of each area. So one of the things that has happened is we have moved our Justice and Law Administration program, which was and has always been in the Ansel School of Business, where it then is effectively hidden by the business title. And we've moved them into the School of Professional Studies, where the other human services programs are. They are very excited about this move and the potential collaborations. I am personally excited about the potential collaborations between the justice and law professions and our social work programs that I hope will ensue. We've got a lot of talented people there, but also it puts them in a group of people where we're talking about the same kinds of passions and commitment to public service that go together. So that is happening. It also allows Ansel School of Business to just be a business school and raise its profile as well. The final move, reorganizational move that we have made is about focusing on our strengths in the creative industries. As you all know, we have already got outstanding visual and performing arts programs here at WCSU, but we actually have outstanding work in media studies, media production, communication programs, writing, professional writing in business, but also in the creative industries, creative writing and fiction and poetry, but also in things like journalism and public relations. So they're all becoming one school so that we can recruit students into the creative industries. We have been seeing increasing collaboration, for example, between art and communication for several years because they have a digital media program that they share. We also see increasing collaboration with writing and the theater programs. So this seems like a really natural fit, but it's also a positioning of us for better recruitment of good programs that should be thriving but don't have quite enough recruitment yet. And I think that this will grow them as well. I wanted to mention some of the efficiencies in scheduling that we're working on. Some of this comes out of conversation around our general education curriculum, which is currently being revised and going through our governance structures. But what the issue with the existing generation general education really was, in terms of our analysis, is an imbalance of smaller and larger courses. Now, large courses are not that large at WCSU. We're committed to very strong engagement in the classroom with our students, but there is a proportionality that was not being met. And so in having these conversations in the last year, we sort of we standardize our definitions of kinds of courses so that we can better balance the distribution of a course that needs to be, you know, 15 students in a lab, 20 students in an applied dialogue, or it could be 30 students or more in terms of the kinds of conversations. Once we applied those definitions, we started to see a beginning of a rebalancing, and that rebalancing will become even more, will be strengthened by the new general education curriculum. So what I've seen is a drop in courses that are under 20 seats and a slight increase in courses that are at the 30 to 38 level at the university, which I think will help us a good deal in terms of balancing our resources. It is also clear that we have reduced the number of low enrolled courses, both from scheduling efficiencies and from some of the decisions around the programs and the conversations that have taken place there. The drop from last year to this year was about 2%, and I anticipate that that will continue to stabilize. I wanted to mention that the reorgs here also brought the Career Success Center under Academic Affairs. This is also a very exciting development. WCSU has been piloting curriculum in career education for the last couple of years. It's now being vetted by governance about how it should look as a permanent arm of what we do. But bringing Kathleen Lindenmeyer, who I'm sure some of you have met because she's very talented and involved in all sorts of statewide workforce conversations, but bringing her over to academic affairs means she's around the table with my regular dean's meeting, helping integrate a step-by-step understanding of how we're moving students from the ideas of their majors into their professional development. So that's an exciting change that I think will yield really good results in the next year. Finally, I want to mention the work that Forrest Robertson is leading for us in that ad hoc committee. Western was taking a look in our full analysis last summer at how we're using our reassigned time, whether we're using too much of it, and if we're using it effectively. Forrest is leading a team that is evaluating exactly how we are doing it and what we're using it for, and he will be making recommendations to the leadership team for review by the end of the semester. And I believe that the result will be some reductions in the reassigned time, but more importantly, a very good strategic use of that reassigned time to better support the work that's going on campus, whether curricular work, research work, or involvement of students in projects. So I'm hoping that that also yields a strong result, both in some financial savings, but also in just better practices. So all in all, I think we are moving in the right direction in academic affairs. There are a million other tiny conversations going on that are tweaking things that you don't have the time to listen to now. But I want to say that their faculty are very engaged, very collaborative, bringing forward ideas, and I'm excited for the future in this area. Thank you.
So, President Barron, I mean, I don't know if this was part of your plan, but I would love to hear just a few words from Forrest and from Ethan about their kind of experience working with you and with this whole, kind of enormous but really important endeavor. Would that be okay?
Sure, absolutely. That's why they're here.
Yeah, please. So, I mean, Ethan, maybe you can kick us off, talk us through a little bit. Let's be mindful of time, but yeah, I'd love to hear some of your perspectives.
So Dr. Balk is the president of the University Senate.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. So the fall was tough, right? It was, it was, I would say from a university perspective, I think there's a lot of hindsight going on right now among, I would say what I hear most from is the faculty and how things were kind of handled and how maybe it wasn't that great. And I speak most specifically about the faculty and the sort of union representation, which I think from the majority of faculty, it's a hindsight moment where we are thinking we probably should have handled that a little bit differently. I will say that the rest of the union members across the university have been really responsive with the president and involved in terms of moving forward on an action plan. So I think where we're at right now is trying to find a common ground, I think, among what I view as a very vocal minority among the faculty, and how we can kind of work as a faculty body to come together at the table to move forward with a plan that's going to work for everyone. But for the most part, I would say the fall took several years off my life, and I think where we're at right now is there's a lot of recharged hope, I think, among just everybody, faculty, staff, students, and so we're looking forward to moving into a new presidency and seeing where we go from there.
And I just want to say that Dr. Balk was a paragon of leadership, and I really appreciated how he managed everything, how he took very difficult situations and managed them in ways that made them worthwhile and maybe painful but profitable at the same time. So, Dr. Robertson.
Good morning, everybody. So I had the privilege of leading a group of about 22 members of the university over last summer, where we evaluated 49 undergraduate programs, 21 graduate programs, all aspects, many metrics were used to sort of evaluate those programs. And so we did quite a deep dive. And so out of that, I've been able to work with both Interim President Barron and Provost Alexander, and they created this ad hoc committee on reassigned time. And so the charge is to find more efficient processes of how non-instructional credits are allocated. And so if there are efficiencies, which we are confident that there are more efficient ways for these credits to be allocated, and we're already doing this work at this point, investigating the data, is our goal at the end of all of this is, yes, that we want to have more efficiencies. We definitely, I believe, I'll opine, we are going to be able to save money, reduce costs in how we allocate these credits, but we still want to support faculty and endeavors that are going to still support our students, right? That's our number one goal. And so I'm confident that our group is going to be able to recommend a few plans to the leadership here at the university, and then report out to the rest of you folks.
And if I might just follow up and compliment Forrest's leadership here, not just in this conversation, but in the work last summer, because the analysis of all the academic programs that he led gives us some benchmarks that we can use going forward to continuously evaluate what we're doing here. So really, he's been a strong faculty leader on all of this, wrangling a lot of tensions, which is part of the job, but really getting great results. So we're excited to see this next report.
It's great. So listen, as you all are speaking, normally our institutional presentations, we try to limit them to about 10 minutes. They come with a slide deck, what have you. But I'm reminded, I believe it was Steve Jobs who hated PowerPoint and refused to have it in meetings because he said, if you're interesting enough, you don't need a presentation. And I'll just say that your quote unquote presentation, everything you spoke through, salient, impactful, detailed, powerful, and absolutely important. So I just want to give you all a great deal of credit and respect for bringing all this information forward, especially to our board and to the public. So I have a few quick comments, and then I'd like to just open it up and see if we have maybe some short questions from our board. And then anything we don't cover, we can always follow up afterwards. But the things that really stand out to me are, wow, look at all the work that you all have done in terms of reorganization, examination, analysis, data gathering, and really pulling together, the way you're doing things that creates clarity compromise, collaboration, communication, and accountability, right? I mean, it's awesome what you all are working towards and achieving right now. This kind of change has to happen, even if we were to, have our CSCU 2030 program, put through by the legislature, we would want to do this kind of work anyway. And so you're really charting a path for the system and all of your sister institutions. So thank you for that. And everything that you talked about that struck me was that the changes that you're making, you are able to directly connect them to an impact, right? And that to me, again, I think is so important that you're looking at outcomes. You're not just looking at a process and patting yourselves on the back. You're really saying, what is this work going to do? And how is it going to set things up for success in the future? And again, I applaud you because I'll be frank, I don't think higher education is really great at doing that. So you're looking at impact. And last thing I'm going to say is thank you again to Ethan, to Forrest. Your leadership amongst the faculty and at your institution is absolutely critical to this kind of success. So let me stop talking and open this up to our regents who I'm sure probably have some questions or comments they'd like to make. And Pam, you can be a traffic cop on that one.
Will do. Regent James.
Thank you. Not to reiterate Dr. Chang's words, but I just want to thank you for such a thoughtful presentation. I really admire the way you are connecting the dots for critical processes, whether it's from student enrollment and retention, the integration of concepts and programs, the alignment that you have created in terms of restructuring of programs, and the focus on leading to more collaborations, which is exactly what we need. And I just want to commend you because this is really what we want to do. The idea of connecting, for example, academic affairs to career services, all of this supports our strategic and statewide efforts with respect to workforce development. So I just want to, and I appreciate the difficulty that you have had to overcome and think through in getting to this point. And I just want to commend you because I find this very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Regent Stewart.
Thank you. I won't belabor the point. I just want to say that I was impressed to hear the presentation. As a newer regent, it was one of the first questions that I had asked President Chang when I came in, if there were, structural changes that were being made at WestConn. No secret, it's been, obviously, you've been a highlight of the news for quite some time now. But I just want to say that I'm really impressed to hear a lot of the changes that you're making and truly hope that this helps change the trajectory for WestConn in general. Again, coming in from the outside looking in, it's really tough to make these types of changes. It's tough to be in a leadership position to take these things head on. I just want to give you guys a lot of credit for that, and here's to hoping it all works out for the better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regent McCarthy.
I'm going to add to this chorus. I think that what I heard this morning was incredibly encouraging, and the fact that you seem to have accomplished this in a matter of weeks or months is really impressive. What I see now, and I think this is accurate, but what I see now is not a president with a very large number of direct reports, but a president with a very rational leadership structure. As far as I can tell, there are basically 4 senior people: institutional advancement, academic affairs, enrollment management and student affairs, and finance and administration. And this is a wonderfully streamlined structure, one that gives each of these senior leaders responsibility and authority. And I think that is exceptionally strong. And then I'm also very pleased to see the progress you've made on reorganizing the academic programs. And And I think we can't overstate how important it is to make sure that each program is housed in a school that will be most supportive of that program. And each school is not distracted by programs that aren't central to its mission. So the changes you've made in the content of academic programs and shifting them among the schools, I think speaks well for what's going to happen. And I want to give you incredible kudos for not only doing this, but doing it in what's been a very short period of time, and frankly, a very challenging time because you were under the microscope and you've produced. So kudos, and I really look forward to what's going to come next. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regent Santiago.
There's not much more I can say on the positive side of the presentation. I think it's all been said and very well said. A really well done presentation, well prepared. So congratulations and thank you to all of you for the hard work on that end. I think ultimately the results we're going to see at WestCon are going to be a result of how well this team works together to create, communicate, and execute a plan. This organization can only go as fast and as far as this leadership team will take us. And if today's any indication, we have a lot of great things coming ahead. So we look forward to seeing that. From my seat, the ultimate measure of our success will be student enrollment and retention. Our mission is to serve students, and ultimately that's measured by the number of students we attract, retain, and graduate with a top-notch education. So I hope that remains front and center in everything that we do, and we know that ultimately that's how our results will be measured. So thank you so much for what you've done. I look forward to seeing the success and the results ahead.
Thank you.
Great. So I think those are all the hands. Again, Paul, thank you to you and your whole team and everyone who's not at that table, who's done the roll up the sleeves and get to work action. You know, it's working. Okay, so just keep it up, and you have clearly the board support, and you have my office's support, and let's just keep it going. So thank you again for all the hard work. So Regent Ryan, I will pass the microphone back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, President Chang and President Barron and your wonderful colleagues for this really heartwarming and upbeat, positive look at what is being done and what we're going to be doing. So this is most appreciated. And I thank the comments of this wonderful board too, because you can see there are differences being made. So kudos to everyone. I would now like to ask Dr. Pritchard and Pam Helene to manage the public comment portion of our meeting.
Thank you, Chair Ryan. In addition to the 6 presenters we have today, we've received 14 letters and communications from the public and from students, which have been forwarded to the regents in advance of this meeting. And in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act guidelines as amended, the communications were posted on the CSCU website immediately prior to the meeting start time. And with that precursor, I'd like to welcome our first student presenter, Nick Costantini from Southern Connecticut State University. Nick, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Are you on audio? There you are. And you've got your 3 minutes.
Okay.
You may begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Costantini, and I am a second-generation college student at Southern Connecticut State University. Having an accessible higher public education made my interest in college grow throughout high school because I knew that our in-state colleges had lower costs in tuition. My family doesn't come from a lot of money, so I will have to pay back debts for school, but it would have been a lot more if I didn't have the options from our Connecticut state colleges. I'm also aware that it hasn't been easy for others in different towns in our state, and I was fortunate enough to have a higher public education from my high school, which pushed a lot of my class going towards college. But I know that there have been other high schools that have been unsuccessful in doing this. There's a lot of other towns where college is not in the sights of many high school kids because they think they either can't get in or they can't afford to. I spoke to a few classmates from Waterbury who are in Southern Connecticut State from the Gear Up program because they tend to have less than 20 students from their class graduating to go to college. So a lot of these kids are offered this Gear Up program, which I think would be beneficial to offer around in different cities as well, because it helps students have the chance to further their higher public education for a lower cost, if not free, which is very necessary to help those in need who maybe think that they aren't able to pursue their academic career just because of funds and costs. So making it more accessible will definitely allow students, but I think also adults who have also pushed off college in the past to try and pursue their education, which could lead them down an entirely different career that maybe they didn't think was possible for them without college. And having it will definitely increase the chances of students pursuing an academic career after high school, and I think it would create a bunch more jobs and affordable living for those who didn't think that they could do it without going to school.
Thank you.
Is that it? No.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Kara Whittingham, also from Southern Connecticut State University. Kara? Are you with us?
Yeah, you can hear me?
I can.
Okay.
There you are. Do you have your 3 minutes?
Okay.
You may begin.
My time is coming to an end at Southern, and I can proudly say I have enjoyed my time here, although I did not begin my journey here. After receiving my acceptance letters in high school in 2017, my parents told me not to base my decision on tuition and to choose where I would be most happiest. The University of New Haven was my choice, and that is where I attended my first year of college. I knew most of my friends were attending Southern. I wanted to go somewhere different. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I have a son, sorry. The University of New Haven was my choice, and that is where I attended my first year of college. I knew most of my friends were attending Southern. I wanted to go somewhere different. The University of New Haven was close. The entire college process was overwhelming. I'm the first in my family to be in college. Everything was a learning process. A small university seemed like the right choice. I quickly learned that at UNH, the parking was a challenge, they lacked diversity, and I was told by my parents not to worry about tuition, but the numbers I seen, I wasn't happy about. I wanted to transfer to Southern. My friends told me there were plenty of clubs and activities. Since attending in 2018 to now, I feel I fit in at Southern. I'm comfortable and I have not once felt out of place. Activities occur on campus every day. There's opportunities to meet new people and plenty of resources to help with finding a job and internships. I'm a mother and learned that this is a breastfeeding friendly campus and scholarships are available to apply to every semester. Supporting student parents is awesome. It has been difficult balancing being a mother, work, and school. The only thing I can say I wasn't a fan of was purchasing books. The most I've spent on books was $400. Southern has helped shape my career as well. I have wanted to be a veterinarian since 4th grade, but when I took social work class at Southern, I changed my major. The professor taught lessons well. It was interesting for me, and he was kind, and I received an A in the class. I learned I want to help people. I currently work with disabled and elderly, assisting with activities of daily living. I plan to excel with this, helping others because my grandmother didn't receive the best care at a nursing home years ago. The classes I took at Southern helped me find the right career for me. I'm glad I attended Southern and I'm proud to be an SDSU owl.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Seth Freeman, 4C's president.
Can you hear me fine?
Ken, are you ready?
Thank you,
You
ma'am.
may be
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the Board of Regents, I'm happy to address you today on behalf of the 4,000 faculty and staff in our 4C's union. I provide a written statement again this month. My statement talks about our students and our community demands to end structural racism in CSCU and end the exploitation of adjunct faculty in our colleges. My statement includes our demands to stop the tuition hikes this board is still threatening. My statement criticizes President Chang for his recent failure in leadership, specifically his failure to involve faculty and staff in the development of the CSCU 2030 plan. And my statement addresses the complete disaster of HR shared services. Please read my statement. My statement challenges this board to do better. I will focus today on our fight for full-time faculty and Senate Bill 1105. Our students and our communities demand an end to the structural racism in the CSCU system. Our students and our communities demand an end to the exploitation of our adjunct faculty. In our contract negotiations last year, we asked you to work with us to fix these problems. We asked you to address the crisis of over-reliance on part-time faculty. We asked you to be our partner. Your response was very clear. You turned your back on us and you told us you were not interested. Now we have provided you the data that shows Connecticut has the fourth worst ratio of full-time, part-time faculty in public two-year colleges in the country. Repeat, fourth worst ratio of full-time, part-time faculty in the country. Because you are not interested, we have gone to the legislature and the public, and we are going to force you to do what is right. That's the purpose of Senate Bill 1105, to force this board to do what's right. Our union, 4Cs, SEIU, is fighting to end structural racism in our state more broadly. We're fighting to end structural racism in our public K-12 system. We're fighting to end structural racism in healthcare and housing and criminal justice. That's what our union and our students and our communities are fighting for. The message for the board today simply is, we're done asking. We demand justice for our students. We demand justice for our workers. Marginalized communities all over our state demand justice. We told President Chang already, and now we're telling you. We are going to win for our students and our workers, and we are going to win on this issue. My apologies to the Jackson Lewis wing of this board, but that's exactly what we're going to do. We hope you find the courage and the dignity to get on the right side of this issue. And we look forward to working with you once you do. Thank you very much.
Pam, you're muted. Pam.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Sarah Berry, professor at Manchester Community College.
Can you hear me?
I can. Are you ready?
Yep.
You may begin.
Hello, my name is Sarah Berry, and I'm an adjunct faculty member at Manchester Community College, a member of the 4Cs, and a proud MCC alum. Research shows that more access to full-time faculty means higher rates of student success. There's many reasons for this, the most obvious being that full-time faculty have more access to resources, more space, more technology, and more importantly, more time to invest in their students. Adjuncts do not have private offices on campus. Many have no office, and those that do share it with multiple colleagues. At MCC, there are often multiple adjuncts working with students simultaneously in one small space. At one time, there may be an adjunct giving a makeup exam, another reviewing course concepts with a student who needs help, another discussing the likelihood of a student passing the course, another whose student is explaining personal circumstances, and yet another adjunct trying to concentrate on grading assignments. None of these students are getting the best possible experience, nor the same attention they would if a full-time faculty member with a private office taught their course. The student taking an exam would have a quiet workspace. The student reviewing material would be able to focus on their professor's explanations. The student struggling with the course or personal problems could have a place to discuss their concerns privately. And students whose professor is trying to concentrate on grading would likely have their work returned sooner and with more feedback. Adjuncts also do not have the same access to technology as full-time faculty. The computers in our adjunct office don't have webcams or mics, making it impossible to meet virtually with students without providing our own equipment. Full-time faculty are issued college laptops with these capabilities, while adjuncts, when not on campus, are on their own to provide necessary technology, which not all of us can afford. From my own personal experience, my personal laptop needs to be replaced due to a corrupted hard drive. I lost one of my classes this semester, so I can't afford to replace it right now. The only way I can do anything for my class that requires a computer is to spend as much time on campus in the office as possible. This means when we have a snow day, for example, I can't grade students' work in Blackboard, upload the next assignments, or update my slides for class. But if I was full-time faculty, I would have a college laptop. This puts my students at a disadvantage. Many adjuncts work multiple part-time jobs, thus having less time to spend on campus, less time to meet with students, less connection to the campus community, and less knowledge of the resources available to students, which means less ability to refer students in need to appropriate resources. 75% of college courses in the system are taught by adjuncts, which means 75% of courses are taught by faculty lacking the necessary resources. This does not mean that 75% of our courses are taught by less qualified or talented instructors, but it does mean that 75% of our faculty is being exploited, working part-time with less pay, no health benefits, and no job security. It means that 75% of our students may or not be able to connect with their professors next semester when they need recommendation letters. It's imperative to our students' success that the community colleges hire more full-time faculty if we're truly going to put students first.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Professor Sarah Churchill from Housatonic Community College. Sarah?
Good morning. I'm Sarah Churchill. I'm an adjunct instructor at Housatonic, and I'm here today to ask the Board of Regents to reconsider their position on SB 1105, a legislative act concerning the adjunctification of Connecticut's community colleges. I've been teaching art history at Housatonic for 5 years, all while enrolled in a PhD program. I love my job, so much so that I'd like to teach full-time in our system when I graduate next year. However, in the 5 years here, there have been no openings for full-time teaching in my discipline, so I looked into this. In the spring of 2022, we offered a total of 74 art history courses across 12 community colleges. These 74 courses were taught by 43 faculty members. Of those, only 6 were full-time, and of those 6, only 1 is a full-time art history professor. The rest are visual arts professors, which is technically a different discipline. Across all 12 community colleges, we have only 1 full-time art history professor. There are no full-time openings in my discipline because there are no jobs. To summarize, this means that 86% of all art history courses taught in the spring of 2022 were delivered by adjuncts, a ratio that's actually higher than the system average of 75%. In my department at Housatonic, we have 3 part-time art history adjuncts, no full-timers, all teaching the same set of art history courses. This is not a strategic engagement of adjuncts. This is labor exploitation. What does that mean for students? That means that 86% of our art history courses are taught by faculty who can't fully participate in the life of the college or advance their careers. Many of us do so because we care about our students and are passionate. As an adjunct, my students are not getting the full benefit of my expertise. I could be growing our art history offerings, connecting students to institutions, creating pathways to 4-year programs, and I'm just one of the army of adjuncts serving our 12 colleges. I'm asking you to dream with me. What more could we do to enhance our students' chances for success if we increase the ratio of full-time faculty at our 12 community colleges? What kind of bold, exciting future could we be building? According to recent studies, part-time non-tenured faculty face significant challenges which constrain their abilities to facilitate optimal student learning. As these ratios have risen, we've observed diminished graduation and retention rates, decreased likelihood of transfer, lower grade point averages, and greater difficulty with major selection and persistence. Our students need more full-time faculty, and our faculty need the opportunity to be fully dedicated to their craft. We can solve both of these needs by leveraging the talent we already have, building pathways to full-time teaching. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Our next presenter and our last presenter is Professor L. Vandermark from Nantucket Community College.
Thank you very much. My name is Elle Vandermark and I teach at Nantucket Community College. And the last time I was here, I was asking for the board's help because there were gas leaks at ACC that were not being addressed. I am confident it is because you asked questions and you intervened that resulted in a different response at ACC. People began listening to the concerns of the people who had been ignored. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to do that. But I'm here today and returning to ask you for more help. President Chang has called for a change in relationships, and President Maduko talks about meet and confer. And I think both of these are valuable. Both ideas are valuable, but in my experience, we are still talking past one another. We are not meaningfully engaged. And until these ideas become practices, they remain too far out of reach. I acknowledge that leadership is saying they want to do things differently, but it's hard to break old habits, and that's what we need to start doing. We all need to do better. I just heard the board supporting the new efforts at WestCon, and I really hope that continues because they need your support. But more than support, we all need to return to common practices of courtesy and respect and decency, and we are really missing that. We're missing that in how we communicate with one another, in how we interact with one another. The ideas cannot be equated with actual change until we change our habits. So I'm here today to ask you to help launch to help take those ideas and put them into practice in resolving problems. We don't even get a common courtesy of a response to emails that we send anymore. And can you imagine if we didn't respond to an email from any of you? I mean, it would be unheard of, but of course we do. And changes of this magnitude require a commitment. So I am asking you to lead in this. Take up the mantle of President Chang and President Maduko's ideas and lead with it. We need to begin practicing common courtesy and respect and engaging in meaningful conversation. And I am hoping that with your help, we can begin to change those habits. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Chair Ryan, that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting.
Chair Ryan, if with your permission, I'd like to just respond briefly to a few of our public commenters. Would that be okay?
Please do so. Thank you.
Thank you. So first, I hope President Joe is feeling good about the representation of his university and the students, Nick and Kira. And again, they are the symbols of why we're here, what we do, why we do, why it's important, the impact that we make. And Kira never apologized for your son, your child, making a little noise in the background. That's part of the joy of life, okay? And you know, so don't ever apologize. That's my feeling. So let me start from with, you know, L. Vandermark, your comments are well taken. I really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone who spends their time to make public comment. It's important for the board and for me and my office, our leaders across the system, to hear directly from you. So we genuinely do appreciate this kind of engagement. You know, if folks are not responding to the concerns expressed by the faculty and the staff and the students, then that's bad on us. And we have to do better. And I'll speak for Dr. Maduko for a moment. He wants that. I want that. All of our presidents, all of our leaders want that. And so if we're not doing great, then we got to do better. That's it. And so I commit to that again, and we will continue to work with our people, our teams, to always try to do better in that space. I also concur with you that, you know, a return to that common practice of decency and courtesy is absolutely critical. And I mean, look at Western today as an example, sitting down with faculty leaders and the administration to present the path forward for their institution. I think it's something that we should continue to aspire to, because it is a great model and it really shows that, you know, we all want the same things. We want good things for our institutions, for our students, and for our institutional communities. And so, you know, again, we're with you on that. You know, in terms of the legislation that has been proposed regarding, you know, kind of nailing down specific percentages of part-time faculty versus full-time faculty, I think the first thing that I would say is that we need to use the same data, okay? Because I think we're looking at different data sets. So if I look at the information from this current annual year, at the colleges, there are 6,413 sections being taught by full-time faculty, and there are 6,545 being taught by part-time, plus another 1,462 that is unspecified. So across the colleges, we are not at a 75% part-time to full-time ratio. And then when we drill even deeper, we can look at an institutional level. Some institutions have much higher ratios than we would certainly like. You know, I'll look at as Nantuck. As Nantuck has 63% taught by part-time with an 11% unspecified. But then we have other institutions like Housatonic that are 57% full-time and 33% part-time with 10% unspecified. So you see my point is that I think for us to truly identify the problem, let us use the common data set, agree what the problem is, and then absolutely let's work together to solve that problem. I will also say, publicly, as I've said privately, we believe that this matter is indeed a collective bargaining matter, and one that we believe would be best conversed and negotiated at the table, so to speak. And so, that's where our position is. I think also this current legislation, and frankly, the way it concerns me, the way some of the positions are being kind of postulated here in the narrative. It's so complicated. I was an adjunct faculty member for a long time. Okay, I remember doing what I call the adjunct hustle, multiple campuses, multiple classes, trying to hold down a full-time job or all at the same time. And so I genuinely empathize with you. That said, I've also been a department chair and an administrator at a different institution and different system when a conversion of or a transition to bring more full-time faculty into the classroom happens. So I just want to make sure you all are clear in terms of my position as the head of the system. We definitely agree that having full-time faculty in front of our students is a good thing. We want to see better balance. We want to see an improvement in those ratios. We don't think it is something that the legislature should take responsibility for. We think it's something that the system and our collective bargaining units should take responsibility for. And so, the complication is, just hypothetically, if you create more full-time positions and have those positions teaching full course loads, you are going to drastically reduce the number of full-time faculty or part-time faculty. So if that happens, well, what happens to those part-time faculty that maybe don't get those full-time positions? Have we thought about that? How do we create balance in these types of initiatives? So what I would encourage is continued dialogue on this matter. Philosophically, we are aligned that we want to see better ratios because we believe it benefits the students. But I would encourage a level of kind of collaboration and sharing a common data set so that we can have a more unified conversation around that. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Chair Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And we appreciate your comments as well.
President Chang, Chair Ryan, Professor Sasanker has her hand raised. If you'd care to recognize.
Professor Sasanker, go right ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, I think it is unfortunate perhaps that this gets expressed in different ways. It is that 75%, over 75% of the workforce is part-time. But we have been searching for the numbers that you shared today, President Chang, on the actual courses. And thank you for sharing them, and I'm hoping that you'll share them with us in writing so that we can actually see the breakdowns. And the sentiment that you want to move in that direction is wonderful. I'd like to work with you to move in that direction now that we have a shared understanding of the way that this is breaking down. That said, there is, it seems to me, a role to play for the legislature in this issue, simply because to move in that direction, there needs to be such a significant change in the level of financial support we get from the state in order to get us there, and a commitment from the legislature to keeping us at those levels seems necessary, right? Because that's recurring funding that we're going to need to support salaries. So, I guess we can keep talking about the best strategies to make sure that we can get that. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice and Pam, for conducting this session. We appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments and questions that have been raised. And I thank you for your consideration and thoughtfulness in responding and what we have to do next. Next, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the minutes from the February 16th board meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll call on the committee chairs for their reports. We'll begin with Committee Chair Ivor Bloom. We welcome you, We welcome your report from the Academic and Student Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My report will be brief. The committee met on March 10th with Regents McCarthy, James, Porth, and Professor Susenko present. The committee discussed the items on the consent agenda, and I want to thank the full board for approving the items recommended by the committee, which is what just happened with the consent agenda. Those items came from the committee, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bloom. That's very helpful. We'll now move on to the Audit Committee. Chair Elise Wright, but I believe the chair has no report today. So we'll move on to Committee Chair Rich Balducci. I believe you have an item for board consideration from the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. And I'm not sure if
Madam Chair, I am here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you. I also have a relatively brief report. The Finance Committee met on the 15th of March to discuss the issue of fees for the Connecticut State College that we had before us. The college is elected to defer action on substantive changes to tuition until after the governor's budget comes out. They're not sure where it's going to be, and so they propose waiting until they find out where that all comes down. However, they did want to make several minor changes to the fees, 3 different fee structures. And the purpose of that is to make it more consistent across the board. There are some minor changes, charges. This way, all of the charges would be the same, all the fees would be the same. For example, tuitions is one of the ones we look at. Tuition increases per credit hour. The activity fee piece and the transportation fee piece. And it just gives some people or some of the colleges the opportunity to decide whether they want to opt in or out, but it's across the board, so everybody is equal and everybody will be charged now the same in the different fees. I'm just looking down to see if I forgot anything that was of importance. There really are no significant increases, by the way, when we look across this whole thing. There are minor adjustments. For instance, I was looking at the increase in cost per credit hour. For someone taking a 1 credit course, you actually save $7 as opposed to any kind of an increase. And moving right down to a full credit, 12 credits or more, the increase is only like $18 as opposed to where it presently is, but that's across the board for all the colleges. So with that, Madam Chair, I would move adoption of the resolution and be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Regent Balducci. That was much appreciated. We now move on to Human Resources and Administration Committee with Holly Howery, Chair. However, we do not have a report from that Human Resource Committee. We do not have an official report from the Executive Committee. However, there is a special resolution from the floor, and I believe Regent Stewart has a motion that she'd like to bring to the floor.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to bring forth the following resolution from the floor. If you'll indulge me for a moment while I please read it into the record.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Whereas on the evening of October 12th, 2022, tragedy struck the community of Bristol, Connecticut. In the course of responding to a domestic violence incident, 2 Bristol police officers, Lieutenant Dustin DeMonte and Sergeant Alex Hamzy, were killed, and 1 officer, Alex Iorato, was seriously injured. And whereas the Connecticut State College and Universities recognizes the sacrifices of these officers. Whereas Lieutenant Dustin DeMonte was a 2010 graduate of Central Connecticut State University with a bachelor's degree in criminology. And whereas Sergeant Alex Hamzy attended Tungus Community College from 2009 to 2013, studying both business administration and criminal justice. And whereas Officer Alec Iorato moved to Connecticut in 2018 after having earned a bachelor's degree in government law and national security from Misericordia University. And whereas these 3 officers dedicated their lives to public service, it's right and just that the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities recognize their contributions now. Therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Regents for Higher Education recognizes Lieutenant Dustin DeMonte, Sergeant Alex Hamzy, and Officer Alec Iorato for their vital contributions to the Bristol, Connecticut community, and be it further resolved that the Board of Regents, in consultation with President Chang, has conferred CSCU-wide honorary degrees as follows. A Master's of Science degree in Criminology to Dustin DeMonte, an Associates of Arts degree in Business Administration to Alex Hamzy, an Associates of Arts degree in Criminal Justice to Alec Iorato, and be it further resolved that these honorary degrees be conferred at an occasion mutually acceptable to all parties, and be it further resolved that the Board of Regents for Higher Education extends its sincere appreciation for the dedication and sacrifice of Dustin DeMonte, Alex Hamzy, and Alec Iorato.
Thank you, Regent Stewart. I believe our Vice Chair would like to second the motion to award the CSCU-wide Board of Regents honorary degrees.
Yes, Chair Ryan, I'm honored to offer a second to this very important and very meaningful proposal to honor the public service of 3 extraordinary individuals.
Thank you, Regent McCarthy. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I think you have to
I
actually
believe
make a
we have
motion.
comment. I believe we have some comments. Regent Porth?
No, I just want to echo what's been said already. I think this is a really important way to honor 3 great public servants, and enthusiastically support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe President Chang has comments.
Thank you. I just want to thank the board for taking this action. You know, this tragedy, these murders and the wounding and injury to Officer Iorato, it's a reminder that, you know, in a small state like Connecticut, you know, folks are connected in so many different ways. And so thank you for honoring the service, the work, the memory of our 2 fallen officers, and for, again, honoring the sacrifice of Officer Iorato. So I just appreciate the board taking this action. Thank you.
Thank you. We can now call for the vote. Or did we already do that? No, we didn't do that yet. So when comments are complete, we are now calling for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Before I call for a motion to move to executive session, let me state that the board will move to executive session for the purposes of discussing the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. No votes will be taken in the executive session. Additionally, there'll be no discussion, action, or votes by the board following the executive session. The only action following the executive session will be a declaration of adjournment by the chair. President Chang is asked to join the regents in executive session. Therefore, I allow me to call for a motion to move to executive session for the purpose as I have described, and to adjourn by declaration of the chair when the discussion in executive session concludes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The open portion of our meeting has concluded. The live streaming has been stopped.
And I confirm that the live stream has stopped.
Thank you.